You know, from the alarm on your phone to the shows you stream at night, our lives basically run on software. But here's the thing, that very code we trust is often full of secret weaknesses, almost like little time bombs just waiting to be found. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and take a look at the hidden flaws in the software that runs our world.
All right, let's start with a kind of a weird question. Why would fixing a bug sometimes make a system less secure? I mean, we're always told, find a bug, squash the bug. Seems pretty straightforward, right? But what if the cure is actually worse than the disease? What if patching that security hole actually creates a brand new, maybe even a bigger one?
And that right there, that's the core problem with patching. It feels like the most obvious thing to do, of course, but in the super complex world of software, even the best intentions can, well, they can go spectacularly wrong.
Yeah, there's this quote that just nails it. The second a security flaw pops up, it's a mad dash to get it fixed, and fixed fast. And that pressure, it creates this intense tunnel vision. You know, developers get so hyper-focused on that one bad line of code that they totally miss how their fix could ripple out and mess up the whole system.
So this laser focus, it can lead to a couple of huge problems. First, you might end up just fixing a symptom, but you miss the real underlying disease in the code. And second, you can get these unintended side effects. It's kind of like you're trying to fix a leaky pipe in your wall, right? But you're in such a rush that you accidentally drill right into a live electrical wire that you had no idea was even there. Bam! You solved one problem, sure, but you just created a much, much bigger one.
Okay, so it's not just the fixes that can be the problem. Sometimes, the original code itself has a vulnerability just sitting there waiting for someone to exploit it. And to really get how this works, we're going to look at a classic bait and switch, a digital heist that happens faster than you can blink.
All right, picture this. You're at a market and you're buying something for, say, 4,500 shillings. So you count out 5 1,000 shilling notes. The seller sees it, nods, everything looks good. But then, for just a split second, they turn away to write you a receipt. And that's the moment. In that tiny little window, you quickly snatch one of those notes back. Then you hand over the remaining 4, grab your item, and you're gone. See what happened? The seller checked the money, but the situation changed before the deal was actually done.
Okay, so that little heist, it's a perfect real-world example of a classic cybersecurity flaw. It's called a time of check to time of use flaw, or if you want to sound cool, TOC-TOW. And it's all about exploiting that tiny critical gap. You know, the gap between the moment a system verifies something is okay, that's the time of check, and the moment it actually uses that verification, that's the time of use.
So how does this play out in the digital world? Well, let's say a program on your computer asks for access to a specific file. The operating system, think of it as the digital shopkeeper, it looks at the request and it says, yep, okay, this program is allowed to see that file. Everything seems totally fine. So far, so good. But then, here comes the heist. In that tiny, tiny fraction of a second, after the check is done, but before the file is actually opened, some malicious program swoops in and switches the request. It changes the target from the safe file to something it is absolutely not supposed to see, like, I don't know, a file full of your personal passwords. And the system? Well, it already gave the thumbs up, so it just goes ahead and opens the door. It's the perfect digital bait and switch.
Okay, so up until now we've been talking about accidental flaws, right? Honest mistakes that can be exploited by some clever hacker. But what happens when these vulnerabilities aren't accidents at all? What if they're built into the code on purpose? This is where things get a lot darker. We're leaving the world of mistakes and entering the realm of malicious code.
And really, this is the key difference you have to understand. An inadvertent flaw, that's an oops, an unintentional mistake, a slip of the fingers on the keyboard. But an intentional flaw, well, now you're talking about malware. That's code that has been written with a single, nasty purpose: to deceive you, to damage your stuff, or to just completely take control of your system.
So, think about this for a second. If a simple, accidental timing flaw can let someone pull off a digital heist, what happens when someone builds one of these vulnerabilities on purpose? What happens when a program is designed from the very beginning to be a weapon? When the code you're running is actually designed to turn against you?
Well, that question leads us straight to a whole rogues gallery of digital villains. We're talking about the different types of malicious code, and each one has its own unique, sneaky way of attacking you. So, let's meet the lineup.
First up, you've got the one everyone's heard of, the virus. Think of a virus like a digital parasite. It literally can't survive on its own. It has to attach itself, inject its code into a normal, legitimate program, And then, when you run that program, you're also, without even knowing it, unleashing the virus.
Next on the list is the Trojan horse. And yeah, just like the old story, this one is all about deception. You download what looks like a totally useful app, maybe a game or a photo editor, whatever. But hidden inside that gift is a malicious surprise. The program might actually do what it says it does, but it's also doing something else in the background, something secret and nasty.
And then you have the worm. Now, what makes a worm so different, and frankly so scary, is that it's a standalone program. It doesn't need to hitch a ride on another file like a virus does. No, it can copy itself and just spread like wildfire through a network, all by itself, infecting machine after machine.
So, let's just quickly recap our rogues gallery. You've got the virus, which attaches itself to a program to spread. The Trojan horse, which tricks you by looking legit. The logic bomb, which is just waiting for a specific condition to go off. A trapdoor, which basically creates a secret entrance for unauthorized access. And finally, the worm, which copies itself across a network. They're all different, for sure, but they've all got the exact same goal: to cause trouble.
All right, so for this last part, let's zoom in on the virus again. How does this thing actually work? How does this digital parasite manage to get into the driver's seat and hijack a perfectly normal program?
Basically, a virus has two main tricks up its sleeve. The first is just brute force. It literally overwrites the original program's code with its own malicious code. Simple as that. The second method is a little sneakier. It's more of a redirect. It doesn't actually delete the original program. Instead, it messes with the system's instructions so that when you think you're running your program, you're actually running the virus code first.
Now, one of the nastiest, most powerful types of virus out there is what's called a boot sector virus. This thing doesn't bother with your little apps and programs. No, it goes straight for the jugular. It attacks the master boot record. That's the super fundamental code on your hard drive that your computer needs just to start up to literally boot itself.
And this is what makes it so incredibly dangerous. A boot sector virus loads itself into your computer's memory before your operating system even starts. I mean, before Windows, before Mac OS, before any of it. It's running before your antivirus has a chance to load, before your firewall is up, before any of your digital defenses have even woken up for the day. It's like a burglar who's already inside your house before you've even locked the doors for the night. It's in control from the very, very beginning.
And that really leaves us with a pretty chilling thought to end on, doesn't it? If a virus can own your computer before it even fully boots up, what part of that system can you ever really truly trust? It's a heck of a question, and it's a good reminder that in our digital lives, the foundations we build everything on, well, they might be a lot more fragile than we like to think.